3 degrees. It can be the difference between snow and sleet, wearing a jacket or not. In your day-to-day life, it may not seem significant, but 3 degrees of global warming would be catastrophic.
Heat waves, droughts, extreme precipitation, even fire.
The scary thing is, the world is well on its way there. Since the Industrial Revolution, the Earth has warmed between 1.1 and 1.3 degrees Celsius. Children born today are up to 7 times more likely to face extreme weather than their grandparents. If global temperatures do rise by 3 degrees, what would their world look like? Rising sea levels, desertification. In some parts of the world, the effects of inaction are already clear. The slums of Bangladesh's capital are filling up with climate migrants. Rivers swollen by heavier rain and melting Himalayan glaciers are washing away people's homes. Many, like her, have lost everything.
Here, this is the 3-degree level, and so there is at least a 1 in 4 chance that under current policies we would hit 3 degrees by the end of the century.
A rise of 3 degrees would affect everyone. Even wealthy cities and rich countries wouldn't be immune to the consequences. European capitals like Paris and Berlin would bake under more extreme heat waves. Frequent storm surges in New York could turn parts of the city desolate.
In many ways, cities magnify, intensify climate events.
And because of their denser populations, disasters in a city affect far more people. So far, many developed cities have gotten off lightly, but some rural parts of the world are suffering disproportionately. Smallholders, small-scale farmers, are particularly vulnerable to climate change, and there are over 600 million around the world. Smallholders with farms under 2 hectares produce around a third of the global food supply. Sandwiched between the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea, the area is prone to droughts. Israel Ramirez Rivera is a smallholder in Guatemala. Here, climate change is making the dry seasons longer and more severe.
Digamos que esta es la mazorca más grande que pudo dar esta parcela.
He depends on his crops of corn and beans, but they're getting harder to grow. In a 3-degree world, annual rainfall in this region could drop by up to 14%. At 3 degrees, over a quarter of the world's population could endure extreme droughts for at least a month of the year. But for some, too much water will be the problem. 10% of the world's population lives on a coastline that's less than 10 meters above sea level. For these coastal inhabitants, a 3-degree world would spell disaster. By 2100, global sea levels could have climbed by half a meter from 2005 levels. Low-lying cities like Lagos would be especially vulnerable, with up to a third of the population displaced. And in Fiji, rising waters are already upending lives. The village of Toguru in Fiji is being swallowed by the sea. Barney Dunn, the village headman, has seen over half the village disappear. Relatives' houses have been abandoned and family graves are now underwater. Rising seas also mean storms cause more floods, and many more countries could suffer. The Philippines and Myanmar are just 2 countries that will also see an increase in storm surges in a 3-degree world. To escape, many will move, often to urban areas. Half the world's population already lives in cities, almost a third in slums. For them, a 3-degree world could be deadly. Minara has moved to Dhaka to escape the impact of climate change. But life could get even worse for her. Dhaka is getting hotter, When relative humidity is near 100%, sweat doesn't evaporate well, so people can't cool down, even if given unlimited shade and water. The human limit for wet bulb temperatures is 35 degrees Celsius, around skin temperature. Dhaka will have a much higher chance of reaching dangerous wet bulb temperatures if global warming reaches 3 degrees. Jacobabad in Pakistan and Ras Al Khaimah in the United Arab Emirates have already recorded deadly wet bulb temperatures. Established migration patterns could change. In a 3-degree world, tens of millions of people a year could be displaced by disasters made worse by climate change. As migration around the world increases, there could be more competition for fewer resources. Water, already a highly contested resource, will be a focal point.
The water conflict makes people very uneasy.
Those lucky enough to escape unrest would still have to adapt to a radically different world.